So you're in the market for a lower CC sport bike and you don't know which one to choose. Don't worry fam, I got you. And that's totally understandable. There has never been a better time if you're in the market for a bike that is small and nimble, is cost effective, and is a good option for beginner riders. I'm Chase on Two Wheels, and in this video we're going to be breaking down all the bikes that belong in the lower CC sport bike class. The bikes in this class are 400cc and under, fully fared motorcycles. And don't worry, we're going to be doing another video comparison down the road of lower CC naked bikes as well. Also, before we get this video started, I want to get something. I did want to get something out there. While all the bikes we're going to be looking at today are technically beginner bikes, I want us as a motorcycle community to get away from just calling them beginner bikes and call them what they actually are, low CC sport bikes. These bikes are totally capable in the hands of an experienced rider, and some of them would actually be amazing track bikes. So let's get away from this whole beginner bike term and call them what they actually are, low CC sport bikes. Now, before we get into the bikes that are included in this class, I want to explain how the series is going to run. In this video, we're going to go over the bikes and break down how they compare on paper to one another. After that, each Friday, I'll be posting a new first ride on one of these bikes until I've ridden every one in the class. Side note, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the first rides. Once I've ridden all the bikes, we'll be back here to break down which one performed better on the road test and crown a winner of this segment. Oh, and if you guys think you already know which one's going to win, make sure to let us know in the comments. By the way, this video would not be possible if it wasn't for the guys at Mountain Motorsports. We're currently filming in their Roswell location, so shout out to these guys for letting us test out all these bikes for you guys. Mountain has tons of locations here in North Georgia area, so if you're in the market for a bike, make sure to check them out. And if you do, make sure to sign up below for first ride special pricing. I got you guys a massive discount on bikes when you use that code below. Hopefully I can save you guys some cash on your next bike. And with all that being said, let's look at the bikes in the low CC sport class. First up is Honda's CBR 300R. Now, Honda isn't going to win anything in the stats categories with this one. Numbers wise, we're looking at 31 horsepower with 20 foot-pounds of torque coming out of its single-cylinder 286cc engine. It weighs in at 357 pounds wet and has a 3.5-gallon gas tank. Price-wise, you're looking at an MSRP of $46.99. Now, the Honda is just like the rest of the bikes in this category who all have ABS, and it's optional here on the CBR 300R. Next up is the mighty Ninja 400. With Kawasaki being one of the first players in this segment back in the day with their Ninja 250, it's interesting to see them steadily grow their lower CC option all the way up to here with their 399 parallel twin dropping a class-leading 43 horsepower with 21 foot-pounds of torque. That larger engine is going to set you back a little more with a starting MSRP of $49.99. Bigger engines also mean it's going to weigh more. The Ninja 400 weighs in at 370 pounds wet and has a 3.7 gallon gas tank. This one is going to be hard to beat in this category. Moving on to one of the favorites in this segment, we have the Yamaha R3. For 2019, Yamaha updated the looks of their R3 to really match their R line, so now you can have a lower CC bike that actually looks like one of its bigger brothers like the R6 or the R1. Engine-wise, it hasn't changed from its 321cc parallel twin that it used to have, and it's still putting out 36 horsepower at 19.8 foot-pounds of torque. The weight of this bike is actually really close to the Ninja at 368 pounds and currently has the same size gas tank at 3.7 gallons. Surprisingly, the R3 is the most cost-effective option of the bunch though, coming in at a starting price of $44.99 for the non-ABS model. If you are interested in the ABS model, that's going to up the price to $52.99. Next up, we have the little race replica KTM RC390. Of all these bikes, this is going to be the most expensive. It also has a single-cylinder engine just like the Honda did, except the KTM is sitting on a 373cc motor dropping class-leading numbers in horsepower and torque with 43 and 25.8 respectively. It's also coming in at the lightest on the scales with a 338-pound wet weight. A few of the drawbacks for the KTM is the 2.64 gallon gas tank, which is the smallest in the class, and like I said, it's the most expensive option with a starting MSRP of $5,549. This is also the only bike in this class that does not offer a non-ABS option. And for our final option, don't worry, I saved the worst for last. Here we have the Suzuki GSX 250R. Don't know why the R is there. This bike is class leading in one aspect, and that is the size of the gas tank, which is 4 gallons. That's pretty much the only thing this bike leads with. If you're surprised that this bike has a higher MSRP than the R3, then welcome to my thoughts. For comparison, the R3 MSRP was $4,499, while Suzuki's gonna ask you for $4,600 for this gem. Why anyone would purchase this bike over the R3 is beyond me. But anyway, let's get to the rest of these absolutely abysmal stats. The twin 248cc engine is putting out a sad 24 horsepower and 16.2 pounds of torque. Surprisingly, it does offer ABS, and it comes in at a big ol' 392 pounds wet, which makes it the heaviest bike in the class. And yes, that does mean that the bike with the lowest size engine weighs in at the most. Regardless, I promise I will reserve all of my judgment until after the first ride on this bike. So now that we've looked at all the participants in the class, let's get our comparison on. First up, let's look at the horsepower. We actually had a tie between the Ninja 400 and the RC390 here, which is honestly pretty impressive for the KTM. Torque comparisons are actually different story though, with the KTM RC390 barely beating out the Ninja 400 with its 25.8 foot-pounds of torque. Laying out the prices, we've got the R3 coming in at the most cost effective, while KTM sits on the other side of the scale with it being the most expensive. No real shock there. Now, weight-wise is somewhere where it's actually surprising. The KTM came in at the lowest, while the sad little GSX 250R has the highest. I don't understand how this is a thing, but I can only say that I am really excited to ride this thing. Now, when it comes to gas tank capacity, most of the bikes are going to sit around the 3.5 gallon range, except for the KTM RC390 and our sad little Suzuki GSX 250R. Surprisingly, this is where the KTM and the Suzuki kind of trade places. The Suzuki is sitting at the top with a 4 gallon gas tank, class leading, may I say, with the KTM kind of having an abysmal 2.64 gallon, which is pretty small. You're going to be making a lot of gas stops with that thing. Now, my friends, it is time to jump on these bikes and go out and do the first rides on them to see how the stats translate to how they'd ride on the road. Stats are important. We all love comparing bikes by their stats, but stats are only one thing, and motorcycles are much more about feeling rather than numbers. Now, I'm not saying this GSX 250R is gonna blow me away by any stretch of the imagination, but for now, we're gonna go out, do the first rides, and then we will be back here to crown a champ for the class. Until then, I will see you guys on the first rides. Make sure to hit the like button if you are excited for this series, and we will see you on the next one. You guys ride safe. Later.